Have you ever wondered why the harder you try to be happy, the emptier you feel? Why every peak is followed by a hollow? Why even when you finally get what you wanted, a strange hunger returns, sometimes stronger than before? Imagine standing on a mountaintop you spent years climbing. The air is thin. The view is vast. And yet, there it is again. That flicker of restlessness. That quiet voice in the back of your mind whispering, "Now what?" You told yourself you'd be fulfilled once you got here. The promotion, the partner, the body, the bank account. But the moment arrives and the satisfaction melts like snow in your hand. There is a subtle agony in that moment, not loud or dramatic, but something worse. A sense that maybe happiness isn't hiding behind the next achievement. Maybe it's hiding from you altogether. We've been trained to chase it. The marketing says, buy this, feel that. The self-help books whisper, think positive, manifest more. And social media screams, look how happy everyone else already is. So we run faster, harder, smiling through gritted teeth, pretending the chase is working. But if you're honest, really honest, you might admit that it feels like being on a treadmill that speeds up the more exhausted you get. And what if this isn't a personal failure? What if the pain you feel isn't a glitch in the system, but the system working exactly as intended? What if happiness, as we've been taught to seek it, is the very illusion that keeps us enslaved? A mirage that moves every time we take a step closer. And worse, what if the desire for happiness is what actually causes our suffering? The ancient philosophers warned us. The Buddha said desire is the root of all suffering. Schopenhauer echoed it centuries later, calling the human will, the endless craving, a torment. Nietzsche called happiness a phantom of the soul, something that seduces only the weak. So here is the great question. What if real freedom doesn't come from fulfilling your desires, but from understanding them, even letting them go? Could it be that the more we chase happiness, the more we train ourselves to feel incomplete? That our pursuit creates the very emptiness we're trying to escape? And if that's true, then what would life look like if you stopped running? Stick with this thought, because what comes next isn't comfort, it's confrontation. With the parts of yourself you've used happiness to avoid. With the truth no one profits from telling you. We're about to peel back the layers, to expose the machinery behind your suffering. And it starts by asking, what if happiness isn't something to be pursued, but something that stops chasing you the moment you stop chasing it? We live in a culture of pursuit. From the moment we're old enough to want something, we're taught to associate desire with meaning. Wanting becomes identity, craving becomes purpose, and chasing becomes a way of life. But what if this desire, the thing you've been told makes you alive, is the very thing that keeps you trapped? Arthur Schopenhauer didn't believe in a universe built for our joy. He saw existence as a kind of cosmic cruelty, not because it was evil, but because it was indifferent. At the center of his philosophy was one haunting insight: the will. To Schopenhauer, the will was not noble or enlightened. It was primal. It wasn't the intellect or the soul that ruled humanity. It was a blind, irrational force, an endless hunger that could never be satisfied. It pushed us toward things we believed we wanted, only to leave us empty the moment we grasped them. He wrote, "All striving springs from want or deficiency, from dissatisfaction with one's condition, and is therefore suffering so long as it is not satisfied." But, and here's the knife twist, the moment a desire is fulfilled, a new one rises. There is no resting point, no true contentment, just a momentary lull before the next wave of longing. It's a vicious loop: want, chase, achieve, disillusion, repeat, and it's not just personal. This cycle of suffering has been industrialized. Our economy depends on your dissatisfaction. Entire industries are built to stir your desire and then shift the target as soon as you reach it. Happiness isn't the product. You are. Think about the architecture of your life. The 9 to 5 grind, the curated image, the dopamine loops in your apps. All of it whispers the same message. You are not enough, but you could be. And so, you keep reaching. You keep running, until running becomes your identity. And the more intelligent you are, the worse it gets. Because you don't just feel your suffering, you understand it. You're aware of the absurdity, but awareness alone doesn't free you. Sometimes it just sharpens the ache. This is where Nietzsche enters the picture. He saw that the modern world was being strangled by what he called the last man, a being obsessed with comfort, afraid of suffering, and incapable of greatness. To Nietzsche, the endless pursuit of happiness was a form of cowardice. Because true life, real vitality, demands struggle. It demands depth, risk, confrontation. Happiness, he believed, wasn't a worthy goal. The pursuit of happiness was the opiate of a world that had lost its will to power. And yet, here we are, scared of stillness, anxious in silence, panicked by the possibility that our life has no grand meaning beyond the next fleeting pleasure. We think desire gives us direction, but more often, it keeps us moving in circles, hoping that if we just want harder, we'll finally find peace. But peace doesn't come through desire. Desire is fire, and the more you feed it, the more it consumes. This is the hidden architecture of modern suffering. Not just pain, but manufactured craving. Not just unhappiness, but the illusion that happiness lies just one purchase, one success, one lover away. And it's this illusion that must be broken. Because as long as you believe fulfillment is somewhere out there, you will remain restless, fragmented, and manipulated. So the question becomes, if not through desire, then how do we live? If chasing happiness only deepens the void, what's on the other side of wanting? Before we can answer, we need to see how far the damage goes. Because this isn't just about philosophy. It's about your body, your mind, your culture, and your future. In the next chapter, we'll go deeper into the unseen consequences, the hidden costs of this obsession with being happy, and why breaking free isn't just revolutionary. It's necessary for your survival. There's a quiet kind of suffering that doesn't scream. It doesn't leave bruises. It doesn't demand your attention like heartbreak or death. It creeps in during moments that are supposed to be beautiful. A vacation, a wedding, a Saturday morning in bed. And it whispers, "Is this it?" You smile for the photo. But inside, there's a strange hollowness. Like you're watching your life from the outside. Like happiness is happening to someone else, and you're just playing along. This is the cost of chasing happiness. Not just exhaustion, but disconnection. From your body, from your truth, from the present moment. Because when desire runs the show, nothing is ever enough. The moment can't be enjoyed. It must be upgraded. The meal isn't just food, it's content. The partner isn't a soul, they're a goal. The life you're living becomes a checklist, and the person living it becomes a performer. You don't live, you audition. For approval, for status, for a feeling that's always just out of reach. Neuroscience has a word for this: hedonic adaptation. It's the brain's way of normalizing joy. You get the thing you want, and it spikes your dopamine. But quickly, the thrill fades, and the mind moves on to the next high. It's not broken. It's just doing what it's designed to do. But in a world that feeds on this mechanism, you become trapped. Not by suffering, but by the need to constantly escape it. So we develop coping mechanisms, not out of weakness, but necessity. We drink, we scroll, we binge, we perform, we pretend. All in an attempt to feel better, without ever questioning if better is even real. And here's the paradox. The more we seek to escape discomfort, the more our tolerance for reality shrinks. We become allergic to stillness, to boredom, to solitude. And in that allergic reaction, we lose something vital, the ability to sit with ourselves, to confront our raw, unfiltered being, to face the emptiness, not as an enemy, but as the birthplace of depth. But society doesn't want you deep. It wants you distracted, because a distracted mind is a predictable consumer, and a restless soul will buy anything that promises relief. From luxury brands that sell confidence to therapy apps that promise peace, even your healing has been commodified. Your suffering has a price tag, and the market is more than happy to cash in. But there's something even darker, the way this pursuit shapes our relationships. People become tools in the quest for happiness. We date for validation. We marry for identity. We befriend for clout. And the moment they stop making us feel good, we discard them like broken gadgets. Connection is replaced by transaction, depth by dopamine, love by performance. You may not notice it right away, but one day you'll look around and realize you're surrounded, but completely alone. Because the pursuit of happiness, when rooted in desire, doesn't make you whole. It makes you hollow. It doesn't connect you. It isolates you. It doesn't fulfill. It consumes. And worst of all, it blinds you to beauty, to presence, to the quiet, sacred pulse of reality beneath all the noise. But this isn't where the story ends. There's a crack in the illusion, and it's growing. A rebellion is forming, not loud, not violent, but still radical. It begins when you stop running, when you stop grasping, and begin to ask a forbidden question. What if I didn't need to be happy to be free? In the next chapter, we'll dive into that rebellion, a path that doesn't promise comfort, but truth, and the kind of peace that can't be taken away. There's a moment, quiet, unglamorous, invisible to the world, when something inside you breaks. But it's not a collapse. It's a release, a surrender not to despair, but to truth. The truth that nothing out there will ever save you. Not the perfect partner, not the dream job, not even the next version of yourself. That's the beginning of the rebellion. Not a revolution of fire and fists, but of silence. A refusal to keep dancing to the rhythm of lack. A rejection of the lie that happiness is something you earn. Imagine this. You wake up one morning and don't immediately check your phone. You don't scroll, don't reach, don't grasp. You just sit. And in the stillness, something unfamiliar begins to rise. Not ecstasy, not excitement, but peace, quiet, undramatic, and utterly alive. This is what Schopenhauer called resignation, not as defeat, but liberation. The moment you stop resisting what is, the suffering begins to dissolve. Because suffering feeds on resistance. It grows in the gap between what is and what should be. But what if you closed that gap, not by giving up on life, but by giving up on illusion? You begin to break free when you stop seeing desire as a guide and start seeing it as a fire. Beautiful, powerful, but dangerous. You stop feeding it with every passing craving. You let it burn out on its own, and in the ashes, something deeper appears. Presence, not the sugary high of feeling good, but the raw fullness of being. Not euphoric, not traumatic, but real. This is the wisdom ancient traditions whispered. The Stoics, who said, "Want less, live more." The Buddhists, who trained the mind to release craving. Even Nietzsche, who didn't kill desire, but transformed it. He spoke of the will to power not as conquest, but as the creative force that rises once we stop chasing ghosts. So what does rebellion look like in modern life? It looks like contentment without performance, joy without posting it, success without comparison, and grief fully felt without numbing it into a brand of healing. It's not about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming real, facing pain when it arises, letting go when it's time, and trusting that the self doesn't need to be constantly improved to be worthy of love. But the world won't like this version of you, because you can't be sold to. You don't need the next product, the next partner, the next purpose. You're not easily manipulated when you're grounded, and that makes you dangerous. The rebellious soul isn't loud, it's sovereign. It no longer defines life by mood or metrics. It doesn't ask, "Am I happy?" It asks, "Am I here?" And that question changes everything. The chase doesn't end all at once. You'll still feel the pull to achieve, to impress, to fix. But now you'll recognize it. You'll smile at it. And sometimes you'll choose not to follow. And that tiny decision, again and again, builds a new life. Not one without suffering, but one without the illusion that suffering must always be escaped. In that choice lies your freedom. Not the kind they sell you, but the kind no one can take. So what remains when the desire dies down? What grows in its place? That answer is not something I can give you. It must be lived. But in the next and final chapter, we'll explore what lies beyond the chase. A truth that doesn't depend on feeling good, but on finally waking up. Imagine this. You are no longer searching. Not because you've found some final treasure, but because you've stopped believing that life owes you one. There's a stillness now. Not numbness, not apathy, but something deeper. A sense that nothing is missing, even when life is messy. A quiet, steady awareness that the moment itself is enough. That you are enough, not because you've achieved anything, but because you exist. This is what lies on the other side of the chase. Not the perfect happiness you were sold, but the freedom you never knew you were missing. Schopenhauer believed that liberation came not from fulfilling desire, but from transcending it. That the wisest among us aren't the ones who have everything, but the ones who need almost nothing. He wrote, "It is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else." And this is the shift. The moment you stop looking out there and turn inward, not to fix, but to see, to be. Because the deepest truth is this: you don't find happiness. You wake up to reality. And in doing so, you discover that happiness was never the point. It was never the goal. It was never something to possess. The pursuit kept you moving, but the stillness, the surrender, is where your power lives. There's a reason every great spiritual tradition speaks of letting go, of detachment, of dying before you die. Because to truly live, you must let the old you, the chasing you, dissolve. And that death feels like loss at first, like giving up, like failure, but it's not. It's birth, of a presence so alive, so unshakable, that it doesn't need pleasure to feel full. It doesn't need external validation to feel real. It simply is. And once you've touched that place, that quiet wholeness, the world changes. You don't seek meaning, you embody it. You don't crave peace, you are it. You don't manipulate reality to feel better. Meet it raw, unfiltered, and sacred. Pain still visits. Desire still knocks. But now you don't follow them blindly. You watch, you listen, you learn. And in that watchfulness, you discover your final, most radical freedom. You are not your cravings. You are not your moods. You are not your need to be happy. You are the stillness beneath all of it, the space that holds the storm, the witness that remains, even when everything else changes. This truth will not go viral. It won't sell books. It won't make you easier to market to, but it will make you free, quietly, fully, forever. So if you've been running, pause. If you've been craving, exhale. If you've been searching, stop, because what you're looking for isn't ahead of you. It's already here, in the silence, in the breath, in the simple, unadorned now. And the more you stop chasing happiness, the more you realize you are never broken. You are just distracted.